Hello guys, this is your instructor and I'm very glad that you are watching this video now. And I hope that you will learn a lot from this video tutorial about our topic in bookkeeping and journalizing. So this video is especially made for the boys and you know who you are. You are the section from the Chameleon, Gemini, and the Orion. And I hope before you take the examination, you will watch this video because it will help you a lot to understand more about our topic in bookkeeping. So good luck! It says here, proprietor or owner Cardo invested 500,000 to start the food business. Okay, that is April 1. So automatically the account affected here is cash and the capital. So we need to journalize this transaction. So April 1, cash, how much is this one? 500,000. So this is the first entry that happened in April 1. So we should proceed now in April 2. Paid business permits amounted to 1,000. We are done in the number 2. Now, number 3. Purchase kitchen equipment and paid 3,000 cash. Number 4, for April 4. We are done in the number 3. Okay, the business borrowed 100,000 from the Chameleon Bank to be paid next year. So we borrowed money from the bank, 100,000. The entry here is cash because we received cash from that borrowed money, but we need to pay that next year, and that will become our loan payable. Okay, so loan payable. So that is how much? 100,000. We are done in number 4. Number 5. So the business bought office supplies amounted to 200 pesos. So office supplies and the furnitures and equipment. So what are those? Counter desk, 3,000, chairs, 2,500, one computer set, 8,000. So that is all an asset. But we paid cash for that supplies and office equipment. We paid this on cash basis. So the account to be credited is the cash, okay? Because we paid that. So how much is this? So we need to total that one. So 700 13,700. But if you have calculator to check that better, you can, okay? So if we have calculator here, so the answer is 13,700. We are done now in number 5. Number 6. The business charged 2,000 to Mr. Bowie for the ordered product for his son's birthday. He promised to pay, okay? He promised to pay on April 7, 2019, Sunday. So in this transaction, we already received an income, but we didn't receive a cash because this is a debt of Mr. Bowie. So we are expecting to receive already a cash, but Mr. Bowie said he will going to pay on April 7. So it means that we have a receivable from Mr. Bowie. And already in this day, we receive an income. So the account to be debited is the account receivable, because the account receivable is belong to the asset, and the account to be credited is the income, because according to the rule, if our income increases, or in Tagalog, kapag tayo nagkaroon ng income, we need to put that at the credit side or at the right side. Account receivable and the income. How much is the account receivable and the income we receive from Mr. Bowie? 2,000. Now, the next transaction, the business received 2,000 from Mr. Bowie. So now Mr. Bowie pay his debt amounted to 2,000. So it means in this transaction, April 7, we literally receive a cash. Now, about our transaction here, So the account receivable now will be decreased to 2,000 because Mr. Bowie already paid his debt. Now the account to be debited is the cash because that is an asset and we receive cash 2,000 from Mr. Bowie. But the account receivable now will decrease to 2,000 because Mr. Bowie already paid his debt. So AR is the account receivable. So 2,000. It decreased. Okay? Asset, if the asset decreases, we need to put that at the credit side. It means, in Tagalog, kapag nabawasan ang ating asset, kailangan ilagay natin sa credit side. Okay, account receivable, 2,000 debit. But now, the moment Mr. Bowie paid his debt, it decreased to 2,000. It means Mr. Bowie had no longer debt in our business transaction. So, next transaction, paid 500 for transportation expense of delivering orders. If our expenses increases, we need to put that on the debit side or at the debit side. Because nagkaroon tayo ng expenses, so ilalagay natin sa debit. And we paid transportation expense using our cash. So the account to be credited is the asset or our cash. Because if the asset increases or nabawasan, we need to put that at the credit side. So debit, expense, credit, cash. So debit, transportation, transpo, expense, 500 pesos, and we paid that cash. Number 9, paid 25,000 cash for salaries of 2 hired employees. Now, salaries and wages of our employees is an expense. So we need to debit that. But we paid that using our cash. So we need to credit the cash. And the last one, we received total income. Okay, it says here, total income collected is 100,000 for the 2 weeks of operation. So we receive income. So that income is a cash. So the account to be debited is the cash because it increased our asset. Nagkaroon tayo ng cash. So we need to debit that. And the income also increases. And according to the rule, if our income increases, we need to credit that. Kapag nagkaroon tayo ng income, kailangan i-credit natin. So the account to be credited is the income. And the account to be debited is the cash. Because the cash is belong to asset. So, cash and income. What we need to do now is to sum up the debit amount. Okay, all of the amount at the debit side, we need to total that. And the same also at the credit side, all of the amount at the credit side, we need to sum up that. Okay, so we need to sum it up. During the exam, you need to bring your own calculator. Okay, so cell phone is not allowed, just a calculator. So we need to add the debit side. So this is it. So as you can see, the total debit side is 747,200 pesos. So we need to write that. The total of the debit side is 747,200 pesos. So we need to double rule this one. It means this is the final amount of our debit side in the general journal. Okay, now we need to compute the total credit side. So as you can see, the total credit also the same in the total debit of our general journal. Okay, so 747,200 pesos. So if your debit is not the same in the amount of our credit, it means you have done something wrong in journalizing your transactions. Okay, so we have to record this one. So the debit amount of the general journal is 747,200 pesos, and the credit amount of our general journal is amounted to 747,200 pesos also. So it means if these two are the same, you have done correctly in journalizing the transaction in general journal. And the another step is transferring all the accounts amount in the general ledger. So what we are doing in the general ledger? So as you can see, there are already set up accounts, okay, in the general ledger. Okay, so all we need to do now is to transfer these accounts in the general ledger. So what account? For example, this big one is for the cash, because we have a lot of cash account encountered in the transaction, as you can see. All you need to remember in transferring these accounts amount in the general ledger, if this cash account amount is in the debit side, also the same in the general ledger, we need to put that in the debit side. And we need to put also the date. Okay, so let's do this. So we have cash April 1, and that is debit side. April 1, we have a cash, and that is 500,000. Another one, the capital on the credit side. So, okay, you have to remember this one. This side is all for the assets. This one is just for the liabilities. Okay, and this one is for the owner's equity, so capital, income, and the expenses. Okay, so this is the cash. So we need to put here on the owner's equity side the capital. So we have in the transaction 1 the capital 500,000. On the credit side, take note of that, the capital is in the credit side. Okay, April 1, credit side 500,000. So we are done in the transaction 1. Transaction 2, permit. Permit is an asset, so we need to put that here, permit. So that is debit, so we need to debit that. That is during April 2. Okay, so April 2, permit, debit 1,000. We are done with this one. And the cash is credit 1,000. It happened during April 2. So April 2 here, $1,000. Okay, you see that? So we are done now in number 2. Number 3, we have another asset, kitchen equipment, debit, and cash, credit. So kitchen equipment, and that is debit, April 3, and the amount is 3,000. And how about the cash? We have cash, credit 3,000. So cash, April 3, cash 3,000. Okay. You are done with this one. Now, we receive cash, and that is also our loan payable. So the cash here is debit. During April 4, we received 100,000. So we need to record that in our cash account in general ledger. Okay, April 4, we received 100,000 cash. Okay, now the loan payable. The loan payable now is 100,000, and that is located at the credit side. Okay, debit and credit. Loan payable, credit. So this one, so we need to put that here because this is the liabilities side. Okay, so liabilities or the loan payable. So credit side, loan payable 100,000 credit. That is April 4. We are done with this one. Okay, so we have office supplies here, 200 pesos. That is happened during April 5. So we need to put a date here, 5. So guys, the counter desk, the chairs, and the computer are belong to the office equipment. So we need to put that in our general ledger, office equipment. Okay, office equipment. So how much is the total of our office equipment? 3,000, 2,500, and 8,000. So we need to add this. Okay, we need to add that one. Okay, we need to add. So 500, 8, 9, 10, and 13. So 13,500. So guys, we need to add, okay, all of the office equipment. 3,000 plus 2,500 equals 5,500 plus 8,000 is 13,500. Okay, so 13,500 is the total of the office equipment paid during April 5. Okay, office equipment April 5. $13,500. Okay, now we are done with that. We are done with the number 5. Computer, and oh, we have cash credit 13,700. So we need to credit that cash 13,700. April 5. Okay, we need to credit the 13,700. Okay, you read that? No. Okay, 13. Okay, 13,700. Okay, so we are done with number 5. 6. Account receivable. Oh, we have account receivable here. So account receivable. So that is also an asset. So we need to put that here, debit, account receivable. Account receivable, the date is April 6, and that is debit 2,000. Okay, following. So we are done. Account receivable, debit. Income 2,000. Okay, income 2,000. So we need to put that on the owner's equity side, capital, withdrawals, income, and expenses. But since we don't have withdrawal, so we can put income here. Okay, so income account. How much is that? That is credit, happened during April 6, amounted to 2,000. We are done with this one. Okay, number 6, done. Number 7, receive cash again. So we need to debit this one. 7, 2,000. Okay, we are done with the cash. Now account receivable, credit 2,000. Okay, account receivable 2,007. 2,000. So you see that April 6 and April 7, 2,000. Okay, so April 6. So you see that. Okay, April 7, 2000, credit. So cash done, account receivable, credit done. Now we are done with the number 7, number 8. Transportation expense 500 pesos and cash 500 pesos. Debit and credit. Okay, transportation expense debit and cash credit. So transportation expense, transpo expense. So okay, owner's equity side, capital income and the expenses. Okay, so transportation expense, transpo or transportation expense. So it depends to you how you write that. So transpo expense debit 500. That was happened during April 8. So 8, the amount to be debited is 500. Okay. So you see that transportation expense April 8, 500. Now we are done with the transportation expense 500. The cash now is credit 500. So April 8 cash credit. April 8, okay, we need to credit the amount 500. So see, 8, April 8, and the amount, April 8, and the amount to be credited is 500 because that is the cash. So we are done with this one. The salaries expense 25,000 and the cash 25,000. Debit salaries expense and credit 25,000. So salaries expense, okay, the salaries expense, debit, okay, and the date is 9 and the amount is 25,000. Okay, salaries expense debit 25,000. Now cash credit 25,000. So we need to put that in the general ledger of the cash credit that is happened during April 9. So 25,000. See, April 9, 25,000 cash credit. We are done with this one, 9, and the last one is the cash debit 100,000 and income credit 100,000. So cash debit April 10, cash debit 100,000. Now see that, okay, 100,000. Okay, so now the last one is the income 100,000. Okay, 100,000, and that is at the credit side. So income at the credit side. April 10, we receive income 100,000. So guys, we are done now. Okay, we are done now in the general ledger. So what we need to do now next is that we need to add all the debit and the credit side of every account. Okay, so as you remember guys, we discussed about the normal balance. So what is the normal balance? Okay, the normal balance of an account depends upon the rules of debit and credit. Okay, for example, if the account is belong to asset, the normal balance must be in or at the credit side because that is the side where that account increases. in Tagalog, kung saan nagkakaroon or nagdadagdag ang isang account na yan, doon mo siya ilagay ang normal balance or yung huling balance ng account na yan. In English, if where that account increases, that is the normal balance of that account. Okay? So in asset, debit, liabilities, credit, the capital is in the credit side, withdrawals is debit, income is credit, and expenses is debit. So guys, if this account increases, that is the normal balance of that account. So let's proceed in the general ledger again. We need to compute the total debit and credit. So now, all we need to do, guys, in the general ledger, okay, we need to add the debit side, all of the amount here, and all the credit side. Okay, so we need to add first the debit side. So you can use your calculator if you want. So 702,000. The total debit amount of cash is 702,000. 702,000. As you can see. So how much is the total debit of the cash in the general ledger? So we need to add also this, all of this in the credit side of the cash account in the general ledger, okay? So 43,200, that is the total credit of the cash account. All we need to do now is to deduct the lower amount into the higher amount. You need to consider that, guys, okay? How to deduct amount in a general ledger is very simple. Deduct the lower amount into the higher amount. So guys, you need to remember that one. How to deduct in the general ledger. Deduct the lower amount into the higher amount. Or in the simple explanation, you need to minus the lower amount into the higher amount. Okay? So in this cash account in general ledger, the highest amount is 702,000 and the lower amount is 43,200. So we need to deduct this one into the 700,000. So 702,000 minus 43,200. Okay, so 702,000 minus 43,200. The answer is 658,800 pesos. This amount is the balance of the cash account in general ledger. So the question now is, where are we going to put this amount of the account? We need to put that in the normal balance of the cash. Okay? So as we can see here, guys, we are recording the increase of the asset at the debit side. So it means the cash as an asset, the normal balance of the cash is at the debit side. It means in the general ledger, so the 658,800 will be placed at the debit side because the normal balance of an asset is at the debit side. Okay, so 658,800. 658,800 pesos. So this is the final balance of our cash account in general ledger. And we place that at the debit side because the normal balance of an asset is at the debit side. Okay? Now, the permit. So, the permit, the kitchen equipment, the office supplies, and the office equipments and the account receivable are also belong to the asset account. It means the normal balance all of this one. Okay? It means that the normal balance of the permit, kitchen equipment, the office supplies, the office equipments, the account receivable must be at the debit side. Okay? So the question now, how can we deduct if there is no a counterpart amount in the other side or on the other side? It's very simple. If there is no counterpart amount at the other side, it means this amount is the final amount or the final balance of this account. So it means in the permit account, the final balance of the permit account is 1,000. So we can have a double rule. The final balance of the permit is 1,000. So how about in the kitchen equipment? The final balance of the kitchen equipment is 3,000. There is no other counterpart amount at the credit side. So 3,000 is the final balance of the kitchen equipment account. Okay, 3,000. Now, how are the office supplies? Also don't have a counterpart amount. So it means the final balance of the office supplies is 200 pesos. How are the office equipments? The office equipment, there is no other counterpart amount. So it means the final balance of the office equipment is 13,500. Copy? Okay. So, the last one, asset, account receivable. So how we going to deduct this one? If we have the same counterpart amount, it is very simple. If we encounter this kind of amount in one account, for example, in account receivable, all we need to do is to deduct also that one. It means 2,000 minus 2,000 is 0. And the normal balance of the account receivable is at the debit side because account receivable is an asset. Okay? So it means the normal balance is at the debit side. So 2,000 minus 2,000 equals 0. So we need to place that at the debit side. 0 balance. It means our account receivable in the month of April is 0 balance. Okay. Now, let's go to the loan payable. Loan payable. So let's go back to the liabilities. Okay. So we are recording the increase of liabilities at the credit side. It means the normal balance of the liabilities is at the credit side. So let's go back to the loan payable, and loan payable is belong to the liabilities. So loan payable 100,000. There is no counterpart at the debit side. It means the 100,000 already the final balance of the loan payable. So 100,000 is the final balance of the loan payable. Now, how about the capital? Let's go back to the rule. The capital, okay? So according to the rule of debit and credit, we are recording the increase of the capital at the credit side. It means the normal balance of the capital account is at the credit side. So the capital here is at the credit side. It means the 500,000 pesos capital is the remaining balance of our capital account in the general ledger. Okay, it means this is the final balance of our capital, still 500,000. Next, income. How about the income? Where is the normal balance of the income account? Let's go back to the rule of debit and credit. The normal balance of the income account is at the credit side. We are recording the increase of the income at the credit side. So the normal balance of the income is at the credit side. So remember, income is at the credit side. Now, let's go back to the general ledger. The income now, there is no other counterpart amount at the debit side of this income account in the general ledger. All we need to do, if there is no counterpart amount and we encountered two entries in the income account, all we need to do is to add that one. So 2,000 plus 100,000 equals 102,000. It means the final amount or the final balance of our income is 102,000, and we need to record the 102,000 at the credit side because the normal balance of the income is at the credit side. Okay, so 102,000. We are done with the income. Now, the transportation expense and the salaries expense. So where is the normal balance of the expenses? So let's go back to the rules of debit and credit. The normal balance of the expenses is at the debit side because we are recording the increase of the expenses at the debit side. So normally, the normal balance of the expense account, whatever kind of expenses are that, so whatever kinds, okay, so expenses, we are recording that at debit side. The normal balance of the expenses is at the debit side. Okay, so it means in transportation expense and the salaries expense, the normal balance of this one is at the debit side. So because there is no other counterpart amount at the credit side, the same as in this one, in the salaries expense, it means the 500 in the transportation expense is the final balance of the transportation expense account. How about in the salaries? The same also. It means 25,000 is the final balance of the salaries expense account in the general ledger. So 25,000. So we are done now in the general ledger. Okay, general journal, we are done. In the cash, we are done. Okay, in the general ledger, we are done. We are done computing all the balances. Okay, so maybe now you understand now what is the meaning of the normal balance. Okay, the normal balance, this is where we recorded the final amount of each account in general ledger. Take note, the normal balance is where we recorded the final amount of every account in the general ledger. Okay? In Tagalog, ang normal balance, doon natin nilalagay ang huling balanse ng bawat account na makikita natin sa general ledger. Ay doon natin nilalagay ang pinakahuling balanse or balance ng isang account sa general ledger. Katulad ng cash. Nung pinag-subtract natin ito, ang total niya ay 658,800. At nilagay natin yun sa debit because the normal balance of the cash account is at the debit side. We are done in the general ledger, so we should proceed now in the trial balance. What is the task being done in the trial balance? Simple. All the balances, okay, all the remaining balances from each account in the general ledger will be transferred here in the trial balance. Okay, all of these accounts, cash accounts, permits, kitchen equipment, office supplies, office equipment, account receivable, loan payable, capital, income, and all expenses, all of that balances, okay, from the general ledger will be transferred here in the trial balance. So of course, we're going to take first or to write down first the asset because we have the formula, right? What is our formula again? Asset equals liabilities plus owner's equity. Okay, so asset equals liabilities plus owner's equity. So it means the first accounts that we need to put here in the trial balance is the assets. And what are those assets? Simple. These are the assets that we encounter in our transactions. Cash, permit, kitchen equipment, office supplies, office equipment, and account receivable. So those are the assets that we need to transfer here in the trial balance. So asset. Cash, permit, kitchen equipment, the office supplies, office equipment, Okay, so we are done now in writing all the accounts from the general ledger. And we're going to transfer the balances of these accounts here in the trial balances. Okay, so cash. We need to go to cash. How much is the remaining balance of the cash in the general ledger? The remaining balance is 658,800 pesos. Debit.
Online ka pa sa baba? Kaya di sa south ano na? Asan na? Bakit mo sa kanya yung bottle? Nandiyan yung bottle sa ano? Ising ko na eh.
So the loan payable coding here is at the credit side. So we need to put that at the credit side. Loan payable credit side. And the owner's equity, the capital is at the credit side, 500,000. So we need to put that at the credit side. Income. So income is at the credit side, and the total amount of the income is amounted to 102,000. So we need to credit that. Now, the expenses, transportation expenses and the salaries expenses. So according to the general ledger, transportation expense is at the debit side, the same as the salaries expense, 25,000 at the debit side, 525,000. 500 transportation expense and the salaries amounted to 25,000. So now, again, the question is where this amounts coming from? Simple, from the general ledger. The balances or the remaining balances of each account in the general ledger, okay, will be transferred here in the trial balance. Okay, so now we are done now in the trial balance. So after the trial balance, all we need to do is to total again all the debit amounts and the credit amounts. So remember, it should be balanced as always. If this debit is not appropriate or not the same as the total credit, it means there is something wrong about our calculations. So it's time now to calculate the debit. So the total debit according to our first calculation is 702,000. So we need to put that here. 702,000. Now, all we need to do again is to add, okay, or to sum up all the credit side. So we are done in summing up all the debit amounts in the trial balance, and the final amount is, and the total amount is 702,000. So now all we need to do is the credit side. So as you can see, we don't need to use calculator. Why? 500,000, 100, so 600,000, 702,000. So as you can see, the 702,000, so it is the same in the balance or in the amount of our debit. So since we have the same amount in the debit and credit of our trial balance, it means we have a correct calculations and preparation from the general journal, the general ledger, into the trial balance. Now, if you are done already in the trial balance, all you need to do is to compute for the income statement and the balance sheet. The income statement will cover only the income and the expenses happened in the April transactions of Mr. Cardo. Okay, so it means to get the income statement, we need to compute just this one. Okay, it means the debit side of the expenses must be transferred here in the income statement debit side, and the credit side of the income must be transferred in the credit side of the income statement. So we need to transfer it, okay, in order to get the income or the net profit of the business. So again, the debit side, transportation expense 525,000 for the salaries. So we need to transfer that at the debit side of the income statement. So this is the debit side of the income statement. Okay, the debit side of the income statement. Just transfer the amount 500, and the 25,000 must be transferred also here at the debit side of the income statement. Okay, now the income must be also transferred at the credit side of the income statement, credit side. So this is it. So 102. So that is our income statement, just simple as that. All we need to do is to add the expenses. So 25,000 plus 500 equals 25,500. You need to deduct the 25,500 into the 102,000 income we collected in the month of April. Okay, so 102 minus 25,500 equals 102 76,500. It means that the net profit is 76,500 pesos. 76,500 pesos. So if we're going to add this one, okay, this one 25,500 plus 76,500, The total amount is 102,000. Okay. The net profit is the 76,000. So this is the net profit. So the 76,500 is the net profit. So after getting the net profit, 76,500, all we need to do next is to add the 76,500 into the total expenses, 25,500. So the total must be the same in the income, 102,000. Okay, so 25,500 plus 76, 102,000. As you can see, the total of this total expenses and the income is 102, so the same as this one. So always remember, the debit must be balanced at a credit side. 102,000, but the net profit stated in the income statement is how much? 76,500. Okay, so now we should proceed in the balance sheet. So in the balance sheet, the same process in transferring the accounts and amount that we have done in the income statement. But unlike the income statement, the balance sheet covers only the asset, liabilities, and the owner's equity or the capital. Okay, in the income statement again, income and the expenses. In the balance sheet, asset, liabilities, and the owner's equity under the capital. Okay, so all of this amount must be transferred here in the balance sheet. So all the debit, okay, transfer also at the debit, transferred also at the debit side of the balance sheet. And the credit, all of the credit must be transferred also here at the credit side of the balance sheet. Okay, so we need to transfer it. Okay guys, remember all of the amounts in the trial balance, okay, that including only the asset, liabilities, and the owner's equity. So even the account receivable, AR or account receivable is 0, we need to record that, okay, in the balance sheet. So now we are done with this assets, so we need to proceed in the liabilities. Loan payable, credit 100,000, so credit here 100,000. And the capital, okay, in the balance sheet, the accounts that we need to transfer in the balance sheet are the assets, liabilities, and the capital. In the income statement, the accounts that we need to transfer in the income statement worksheet are the income and the expenses. Okay, so liabilities, loan payable 100,000 transferred already at the credit side of the balance sheet. The next one is the capital. Credit side 500,000. So we need to transfer the 500,000 capital in the balance sheet. 500,000. So now we are done already. all we need to do again, we need to compute the sum of the debit, the total debit amount, and also we need to get the total credit amount. Okay, so we need to calculate that, but of course here in the credit side automatically it is 600,000. Okay, so the debit side amounted to 676,500. We need to record that 676,500. So this is the total amount of debit and this is the total amount of the credit in the balance sheet. All we need to do now is to subtract the asset into the liabilities and owner's equity to get the net profit. Okay, so automatically without using calculator, 676,500 pesos minus 600,000, the net profit collected is amounted to 76,500. Again, 676,500 minus 600,000 equals 76,500. So 600,000 plus 76,500 equals to 676,500. So the same as in the debit and the credit, so it is balanced. But the most important in the balance sheet and the income statement is the exactness or the same value of the net profit. So in the income statement, as you observe, the net profit here 76,500. So in the balance sheet, the moment we subtract the asset into the total amount of liabilities and owner's equity, the net profit in the balance sheet is also the same in the income statement, 76,500. As you can see, 76,500. So remember guys, the income, okay, or the net profit, this is the net profit, 76,500, stated in the income statement worksheet must always be the same in the income or the net profit stated in the balance sheet, 76,500. So if we are done now in calculating all the amounts in general ledger, journal, trial balance, income, and the balance sheet statement, all we need to do is to answer the questions. So guys, once again, thank you so much for watching this video tutorial, and I hope that you really learned a lot from watching this video. So good luck for your examination.